Welcome back to another episode of Hermanas Unfiltered, where we keep it real, raw, and relatable. My name is Isela.
Hello, everyone, and I'm Casey. And today we're going to talk about something that so many of us at one point or another have faced, and that is rejection and rebuilding confidence. So, most of the time, rejection shakes us to the core, depending how it happens and the circumstances, of course. Now, sometimes we can face rejection not only through love, but also through work and friendships.
Exactly, Casey. And today's episode is inspired because we got our very first letter from one of our hermanas. I'm so excited. The situation sucks, but I'm excited that finally somebody wrote in and told us their story. So this particular hermana is struggling with heartbreak after being rejected by someone she really cared about. First of all, hermanas, we see you, we hear you, and we're here to remind you that you are more than this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like if, anybody else is going through the same thing and you're listening, just remember that rejection is tough. It's probably one of the toughest things that you could face. And it does not define you in any way, shape, or form. So I want us to talk about how to handle it, and more importantly, how you can come out stronger and more confident out of something like this.
Right. Okay, Casey. So it's a very short letter that we got. Do you want to read it real quick?
Yeah. Okay, let's see. It says, Dear Hermanas, I've never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am. I'm 32 years old, newly single, and feel completely lost. I was seeing someone for a few months, and I really thought we had something special. But then, out of nowhere, he told me he didn't see a future with me. Just like that, I was rejected, dismissed, and left to pick up the pieces. I won't lie, this hurts. It feels like I wasn't good enough, like I did something wrong, and now I'm struggling with self-doubt. I don't know how to move on, how to rebuild my confidence, or how to trust again. I listen to you ladies all the time, and I know you guys keep it real. Please help me and other women going through this. How do we deal with rejection and come out stronger? How do we rebuild our confidence when it feels like we've lost everything? Sincerely, a heartbroken hermana.
That's tough.
Yeah.
I think we've all been there at one point or another in our lives. Like you said, rejection sucks. It hurts, and sometimes it's hard for us to understand. But I feel like we should start talking about rejection like it's a normal thing, right? It happens to everyone. It could be in any area of your life. Even the most successful people have been rejected at one point or another. Super famous people, Oprah, Michael Jordan, they've all faced rejection at one point or another in their lives. So I think the key to this is realizing that rejection is not a reflection of who you are or what you are worth.
Yeah, because I think once you see it as a reflection of your worth, like it can totally consume you and boggle you down, and then you miss, or you start to doubt yourself, and then you start losing sight of who you are and how wonderful you can truly be. And I think that's why it's so important that we look at rejection not as something personal, but go into thinking about it as a compatibility thing. Sometimes the timing or their circumstances just aren't right. So instead of like saying, oh, why did this person not like me? You have to kind of turn it around and think of the times that maybe you turned something down because it wasn't right for you. Now, it doesn't mean that it wasn't valuable at the time. It just wasn't a right fit. So we got to kind of turn the tables around a little bit.
Yes. And sometimes rejection can also mean redirection. We've talked about this before. The universe or God, if you are a believer, or if you believe in fate, whatever it is that you believe in, sometimes it pushes you towards something better. And I know we've all seen it at one point or another in your life. I know I'm a big believer in when God is trying to show me something different and like kind of steer me away from certain situations. Take it that way. God is pushing you towards something better. It may not feel that way in the moment, but always
Yeah.
trust that at the end of the day, it's not the end of your story just yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And why force something that isn't meant to be when you can just wait for whatever else God has in store for you?
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a big believer in faith, and I definitely believe if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. Um, and your timing and your opportunity will definitely come.
Yeah, I agree. You know that saying, what is it? If you wanna make God laugh, show him your plans or something like that, or tell him your. How does
Yeah.
it go?
Yeah. I don't know. I think you said it right. I
I don't
think you said
know.
it right. But yeah, it's so true though, because we have our own plans and we feel like things should go a certain way. And
Hmm.
then God's like, nope, sorry.
Yeah,
That's not how it's supposed to be.
we kind of forget that we are all destined to do something. We just don't know what it is at
Mhm.
the moment.
All right, so let's talk about what you could do if you're in the thick of rejection. So, like, when it just happens and you feel like your world is crumbling, oh my gosh, I know how devastating and how crushing that is, but you gotta allow yourself to feel it. You gotta cry, you gotta journal, you gotta scream
Mm.
into your pillow, kick your pillow, punch your pillow, whatever it may be, but you definitely don't want to suppress those emotions. You want to feel your emotions, be in your feelings. And it's okay to be in your feelings, and it's okay to cry, and it's okay to be sad and angry.
Yeah, 100% Casey. So I think like after you begin that initial grieving period, um, you need to shift your focus. So
Mm,
instead of asking yourself, why wasn't I good enough? Maybe ask yourself, what did I learn from this experience? So every rejection teaches us something. Uh Maybe it's something like, what do we truly want? Or maybe something that you're not willing to tolerate in a relationship. Or maybe it even teaches you how to recognize red flags sooner rather than later.
mm. I do. I love that. That's so cool. Because you're right. Every type of rejection or any difficult thing that happens in our life, we definitely want to turn it around and turn it into a learning moment where we want to analyze and ask ourselves, how are we going to become better? So
Mm-hmm.
definitely try to avoid spiraling or over analyzing. Like you want to look at the situation, but you definitely don't want to become an overthinker and over analyzer. I think I'm a type of person that I overanalyze everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like whether it's replaying conversations or text messages or moments, looking for little like things of, okay, how did it go wrong, right? And you start replaying that, but that's not going to change anything. That's not going to change the past. I mean, definitely you can look at it and maybe try to learn how to overcome or become a better person, but instead, maybe focus on what's next or what you want from this outcome.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, a lot of people cope with rejection or breakups different.
Yeah.
God, I cannot remember how I dealt with a
Rejection.
breakup or
Yeah.
rejection. It's
Yeah.
been a long time. Do you remember?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it feels horrible. I think it's probably one of, and it also depends what type of rejection, right? If you just met the person and they rejected you, then, I think it hurts. I think it stings. But when you don't have that time invested with them, I think it's so much easier to move forward or be like, you know what? This person's not worth my time, right?
Yeah.
But when you're like in a longer relationship and it's a committed relationship, if you guys have been together for 2 years, 3 years, or whatever, I think it definitely stings, it definitely hurts. But it also depends on the situation, right? But yeah, I remember back in the day, there was this boy, and this was like when my early, I don't know, I think I was 18 maybe, and the one boy that rejected me, let me tell you, yeah, that stung. It stung. It definitely knocked me down a peg or two. Yeah. And, he was just so cute. And he was like, a football player and, very charismatic. And I really liked him. And I think I just came into his life at a point where he just wasn't ready for anything serious. And that's and now looking back on it and reflecting on it, like that wasn't my fault. You know what I mean? It wasn't me. It's just he wasn't at a point where he was ready for a serious relationship like I wanted, right? And I remember, we went on a date. We went on several dates. But I remember, I'd call him or, I think we went out on like maybe 4 or 5 dates. And then on the last date, like I called him, I was like, hey, I had a really good time. It was so nice hanging out with you. And then he was just not as excited as I was. You know, when you can tell, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, we should like hang out or do something, blah, blah, blah. And he was just like, yeah, I can. I'm kind of busy. And once I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm totally being rejected right now. And I'm like, okay, well, what about this other date? He was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good idea. And once I heard that, oh, I remember my heart breaking and I knew like this was it. And I was just like, okay, well, call me or whatever if you want to hang out. He never called me. I never called him. And so that was it. Like I wanted to call him so bad and be like, but I wasn't going to be that girl. I wasn't going to be that girl that was going to like blow up his phone and like call him and yeah, no, I can read between the lines. And
Yeah.
so yeah, and it just fizzled out. But I remember like being totally into this guy. And yeah, that's the one guy that just rejected me.
Mm,
And to this
that's
day, I'm
funny.
like, damn him and his rejection. But actually, it turned out great. I didn't know at the time, but yeah, he has his family, he's married, and I found my person. So yeah, worked out just fine.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, a lot of the times, if it hasn't been like a long time thing,
Mm-hmm.
I think it hurts your pride more than anything else.
Yeah.
And you do tend to question, like, what did I do wrong? Why was I not good enough for this person?
Yeah.
Um, but like you said, once you analyze it and think about it in a different perspective, then, maybe you dodged the bullet. Maybe this guy was
Mm-hmm.
just, a total jerk or controlling person or something. Like, you never know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
like I said, I think destiny or God always has something for you. You may not see it at the time, and you may be upset at the time because why did this happen to me? But then later on the road, down the road, you do find your person, and you will find um
Mm-hmm.
who's gonna make you happy for the rest of your life instead of this guy that rejected you a few months into the relationship. So
Right.
I
Right. And is
agree.
he? Yeah. And the funny thing is with those things like those big rejections that they consume you or they hurt your heart so bad, you know I guarantee you 6 months from now our reader is going to be like, ew, like what was I thinking, like
Mm-hmm.
why was I so into this guy, when the love goggles fall off, you're just like, oh yeah, that was such a mistake.
Yeah, hopefully our friend will get there. To where she can see it from a different point of view, and
Yeah.
you're worth more than some dude that
Mm,
rejected you. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
There's something better out there for you.
Absolutely. If he can't see who you truly are and what you have to offer the world, then you're way better off.
Yes. So speaking of, so we talked about processing rejection.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about confidence building,
Mm.
because rejection may shake you, but it does not have to break you.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. Yeah. And I think I think the first step is just affirmations. You guys know we've talked about this in the past. Like, I am a big believer in affirmations. Like, I think they are so powerful. And I know this sounds cheesy, but words actually matter. And
Mm-hmm.
when you start your day with, I am enough, I am strong, I am worthy of love and success, oh my gosh, once you start believing it, it's like your whole aura just transforms and transcends into something beautiful. And confidence is everything, ladies.
Yes. And don't just say it, actually show it. So
Mm,
do things that remind you of how amazing you are. If you are really good at doing some hobby that you enjoy a lot, focus on that. If you are a gym rat and you love, working on your body, hit the gym
Hmm.
every single
Yeah.
day. Take yourself on a solo date. Confidence will start growing when you step out of your comfort zone, which is weird, but it's true.
Right.
Yes.
I know it is. It's insane that it takes being uncomfortable to help you grow and to become a better version of who you should be. Um, you also want to surround yourself with people who are going to uplift you. So your friends are definitely gonna be an important part of your journey of transforming yourself into a more confident person. So you want to find yourself a circle that's going to do that, that's going to lift you up, it's going to empower you, going to show you what a great person you are. Um, and then probably one of the biggest circle that I would join is God's army, right? And I think prayer, there's a lot to be said about the power of prayer and
Mm-hmm.
praying to God and asking Him to transcend you and to transform you into the woman that you were destined to become. I think that's a prayer that every woman, you know, should say, because I honestly and truly believe that walking, with God by your side is probably one of the biggest ways to heal your heart and to gain that confidence. I don't know if any of the viewers have heard, but um, there's this book. It's called The Confident Woman. Um, and it is by, what is her name? Joyce Meyer. Joyce Meyer has a book. It's probably one of her older books, but it's called Confident Woman. And I highly recommend it to our readers. I think that's a great start for, um, for your journey in confidence.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah. So I love Joyce Meyer. I'm one of her. I love to hear her sermons on YouTube, because she is so empowering to women. I think she's a lot of her stuff is geared towards women, and I just the way she prays and the way she talks to you. It's so good and it's so uplifting and motivating.
Mm. Definitely need to
And
find
it's an
her.
older book, and her cover looks a little, I'm not sure what year it was published, but her cover does look a little older. But I mean, the words inside of it are just beautiful and breathtaking. And everything, of course, is Bible based. So everything that you are learning um, for your confidence is all through scripture and Bible based. All right. Even though we can face rejection, whether it be in love, in work, and different scenarios, know that we've all been a part of rejection. Like, I mean, I've been rejected. That boy totally broke my heart, and I didn't see it coming. And there's been other times in my life where I've also been rejected, like whether it's for jobs or like job interviews, where I've done job interviews and I've completely, you know, bombed them and have been completely rejected. But then that's
Uh,
week. I know,
yeah.
and right. I think we've all been there. I
Yeah.
remember one of my first interviews where I interviewed for a teaching position, and I went in there super confident. I'm like, yeah, why would they not want me? And then they started asking me all these questions, like, and mind you, college did not prepare me for this crap, right? They're like, how would you teach a child who is struggling with reading how to read? And I'm like, that's a good question. I don't know because I've never taught before. So, all I can tell you is that I'm a really great worker, right? I had to like BS my way around it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I had never taught pre-K or had, um, been in that world, right? So I remember completely bombing that interview and just leaving so sad and heartbroken that I did so bad. Like when you do bad, like
Oh, yeah. Especially at a
right?
job interview, for
Oh
sure.
my gosh, when you just bomb question after question. And you know what? And that turned out to be such a blessing. And I'm so glad that I did not get that job. Because first of all, I heard that it was a little crazy over there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so and I don't think I would have gotten the experience that I got. And I would have been teaching like lower elementary.
Yeah.
And
Nightmare.
right? I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? Like, why did I want to teach lower elementary? No. I mean, at this point, like, I'm ready to move up to high school. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just so ready for kids that are, able to kind of, you know, do what it is that they need to do without having to give them detail by detail step instructions. But yeah. So I've totally been rejected
Dude, and
numerous
I
times.
and I feel like that's the worst when you're like really looking forward to getting a job. Like I remember when I
Mhm.
started interviewing for teaching,
Mhm.
I had just gone into the alternative program, Texas Teachers. You know how they give you a letter of eligibility for you to start applying for jobs?
Yeah.
Okay, so I had gotten my letter and, for me to go apply jobs. So anyway, I went to a job fair and there was like a ton of people there, like from different schools hiring, and I went and talked
Mhm.
to everybody and it was so nerve-wracking. So out of like all the people that I spoke to that day, I got one call back and it was at this middle school. And I went in an interview, and like, some of the questions they ask you, especially them knowing that
Yeah.
you have no experience in teaching. This is your
Yeah.
first time trying to get into
Yeah.
teaching. And some of the questions that they asked me, I was like, why? Like, I'm telling you that I just got into the program. I'm not a
Yeah.
teacher. I'm looking to get into teaching. And I get it. Like, you want somebody that's going to be able to cut it. But,
Mhm.
I left there and I was like, they're not going to call me. I knew it. I knew they weren't going to call me for the job. And like you said, it was a blessing because that particular middle school is not that great. So, it ended up happening. I know I talked about it when we talked about our first year teaching episode.
Mhm.
They just hired me at the school that my husband is at, and I stayed there for 5 years, and it was like the greatest blessing in the
Yeah.
world. So it was not my time yet to be at the district that I live in,
Mhm.
um, but it worked out all right. Oh, and then I have another story. Speaking of rejection,
Oh.
have I told you
Yes.
about
Yes.
the one time that I got fired?
No.
I felt really, really rejected then, badly. So let me tell you the story real quick. So I was
Okay.
like, I don't know, 21, 22. I was freshly like in my party era, right?
Mhm.
And I was working at Sam's
Mhm.
the second time around at Sam's. And I used to work in the bakery. And like I said, it was during my party era. So I wouldn't call in a lot because I would
Mhm.
show up to work,
Mhm.
but I would switch shifts with
Mm.
one of the guys that used to work there. I would just call him like 1 o'clock in the morning and he would answer and I'd be like, hey, I don't want to come in at 5 in the morning. Can you take my shift? And he'd be like, yeah, for sure. I'll take it. So we
Mhm.
would swap shifts all the time. So
Mhm.
I wasn't necessarily not coming into work. I was just
Swapping
not
shifts.
coming in when I was supposed to. So, I was young and dumb and like I was more worried about being out and about and having fun than being responsible. Which, I
Mhm.
mean, technically I was still being responsible because I was
Yeah.
coming to work. I just
Yeah.
was not coming at my intended time. So, anyway, I remember that day that they fired me, I showed up. I had to switch shifts with the guy that used to shift my
Mhm.
with me. Anyway, uh I walk into the bakery and I'm all ready to go to work and they already had my replacement in the bakery.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
Um so anyway, I didn't think anything of it. I walk in. I was in there for like, I don't know, 5 minutes. And they call me into the
Mhm.
office and they're like, yeah. And I'm so stupid too. I should have fought it because I had no write ups. Like my record was clean. I was responsible. I would come to work. I did what I was supposed to do. So instead of them writing me up, they just straight up fire me. And I think
Wow.
that lady that took my position, because I was a supervisor at the time. So I was like
Mhm.
pretty high up and I was really young. And I had like
Mhm.
a bunch of other people older than me. And I was their
Mm.
supervisor. And I don't think they liked that. And then that lady that took the position over, she was also another lady who used to be the supervisor, but then she moved to another area and they
Mhm.
went away with that position. So she was no longer a supervisor. So I
Mm.
think she had a lot to do with me getting fired.
Yeah.
So anyway, they call me in the office and they're like, yeah, you've been doing this a lot. You can't really do that. It's against the policy, blah, blah, whatever. And I was like, all right. So they're like, so we're gonna have to let you go. And I was like, all right. And they're like, well, go empty your locker and go home. I was like, well, I don't have anything in my locker, so deuces. So
Mm,
I just walked out and like at the time, like I was trying to be really strong, but then as soon as I left, I called my dad
mm,
crying. I was like, Dad, I just got fired. And he's
mm,
like, what do you mean? What happened? I was like, well, they said because I was switching shifts too much and I wasn't supposed to and this and that. And he's like, okay, don't worry about it. You'll find something else. And I was like, but how am I gonna make my car payment? I was all sad. And he's like,
mhm,
it'll work out. Just relax.
mhm,
So anyway, it so happened that at the time, this particular club was doing really well. So we were getting like bonuses.
mhm,
And at the time, it was pretty good money considering. So I think I had a bonus coming up and then I had 2 weeks of vacation saved.
mhm,
Plus, I had 2 weeks, we were about to get paid. So I had
mhm.
all this money that came in all at once. Uh,
Nice.
so I didn't work for like a month. So that same week that I got fired, I went and started looking for a job, and I got 2 job offers actually within
Nice.
that week. What is my? Do you see that? What is happening? Dude, it's my celebration for getting 2 job offers. What the hell?
Oh, that's
So
hilarious.
anyway, yeah, I got 2 job offers and I got hired like yeah, I got hired and then I stayed at that job for like I don't know, a good 2, 3 years after that. So but yeah,
It worked out.
I got rejected from Sam's Club
Dang it. Dang it, Sam's Club.
for being young and dumb, dude. And I'm telling you, I should have fought it because I had no
Yeah.
write ups. My record was clean,
Yeah.
and they went straight to firing me. And I was like, all right,
Yeah. I guess they did.
whatever.
Yeah. They took advantage of the fact that you were young and in your party era. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
rejection comes in all forms.
Yes, it
Uh,
does.
it can be from different areas of your life. It doesn't have to be in a relationship. So, um, just think about it. You know, mine
Mm-hmm.
came and it was a blessing in disguise. I got another job
Mm-hmm.
that paid a little bit more, had better hours. It didn't require me to do any heavy lifting or anything like that. You know, I got an office job after that. So, you know,
Yeah.
it came with this perk. So,
Yeah. It was like that stepping stone that kind of needed to happen in order for you
mm-hmm.
to kind of progress.
Yeah, and grow, I
Mm-hmm.
feel.
Yeah. And I think that's definitely, as much as it sucks and as much as rejection hurts, like there's always something good that comes from it.
Mm-hmm. There's
Like
always a silver lining, I
mm-hmm.
feel.
Yeah. Because I know I've had, whether it's job rejections or whatnot, maybe at the time, I think your judgment's a little clouded, because you're so hurt and you're in so much pain. But then after all of that dissipates, then you start to notice, what other opportunities are lying ahead, or what other things or possibilities, you know, could be in your path. And there's always something better, always something better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard because I think, like, for some people, I think rejection hits everyone differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have the type of person that gets rejected and they're like, screw the world. Um, I'll show you, right? And then you
Mm-hmm.
have the other type of people who get rejected, and they're like, you just want to curl up into a bed and just forget that everybody else exists. And I'm not saying that either one is wrong. I think we all process rejection in our own way. You just can't let it consume you. I
Yeah.
think that's the important thing to take away from this, is you cannot let it consume you, because boy, will it. And you gotta figure out, what's your next move? What else can I do to get out of this funk?
Yeah. I agree. So, to our hermana who wrote in, let me
Mm-hmm.
remind you that you're not alone. We've all been there. It sucks, but pick yourself up and you got this. It's just a moment of your life, it's not for the rest of your life. So, I believe
No.
that you'll be able to come out of this and see the bright side of this dude just ending a
Mm-hmm.
relationship with you.
Yeah. I say take the time to really work on yourself. to lift yourself, whether it's reading self-help books, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's finding people who support and love you, whatever it may be, but do something for yourself. Don't let this moment define you. Don't let this moment defeat you, most importantly.
Yes.
And yeah, like do something productive. Take this negative and turn it into a positive by doing something for yourself. And maybe take some time away from boys, right? Like stay away from men for a little bit. Not forever, but maybe until you're done healing and you're done, hurting. In the meantime, work on yourself. Work on your self-confidence. Like we said earlier, go take yourself on a date. Go have lunch with the girlies. Go on a walk. Whatever makes you feel good, do that and do it wholeheartedly. And then I promise you that your life will start to change. So yeah, so whatever makes your heart happy, definitely invest in that. And then, I wouldn't worry too much you know, about this boy and just, find something you love, focus on yourself. And if it's meant to be, he'll come back into your life. If it's not, he won't, and move forward. But I say, if
Fuck
he's
up.
rejected you, yeah, you don't need him. You don't
Yeah.
need him. You don't need him. You're worth
No,
so much more than that.
I agree. Um, and remember that confidence isn't about never facing rejection. It's about
Mm-hmm.
knowing you'll be okay no matter what. So keep showing up for yourself because you deserve it. You are so much more than some
Yeah.
dude not wanting to be in a relationship with you for whatever reason he gave you.
Yeah.
And like we've been saying, everything happens for a reason. And if he's gone, he was not meant to be in your life, and that means God has something better for you.
Yeah. Yep. And you know what? I want you to pray for that man. Pray for that man that is supposed to come into your life. Pray for what do you want in a man, right? I think it's important that we all have deal breakers. That we all have deal
Mm-hmm.
breakers as women, and we write those deal breakers down and we say, you know what, this is the type of man I want, and this is the type of man I do not want. And
Mm-hmm.
those deal breakers are going to be your red flags. And anytime a man does not fit your deal breakers, then it's on to the next. Because I think it's important that we stop settling for good enough or because he's nice.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't think it should be that way. I think you should, get everything and anything that you possibly want in life. And in order to do that, you need to set your boundaries. And we've talked about boundaries in other
Mm-hmm.
episodes. And you definitely need to know what it is that you want and pray for that. Pray for that type of man to come into your life and sweep you off your feet. Now, it may not happen tomorrow or a year from now, but God knows he will send him to you at the right time.
Yeah. Pray that man into existence for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So for everybody who is listening to us, if this resonates with you, please share it with a friend who may need a little bit of encouragement. And of course, we want to hear from you guys. So if you've overcome rejection, let's keep that conversation going. Please tell us, how did you overcome rejection so that we can share to our viewers and help them get over rejection. Or if you have a problem that you are facing and maybe you need advice from the hermanas, please send us an email.
Yeah, so to keep the conversation going, you can find us on TikTok at hermanas_unfiltered_pod or on YouTube at Hermanas Unfiltered Podcast. And then we are also on Instagram at hermanas_unfiltered.
Yes, and we're also at hermanasunfiltered at gmail.com if you want to maybe write to us, tell us your problems, if you want advice, or maybe you just have suggestions on topics that you would like for us to cover. Please email us. And once again, that email is hermanasunfiltered at gmail.
Yes, so thank you for tuning in today and thank you for listening to us. Until next time, stay strong, stay fierce, and stay unfiltered.
Bye.
Bye.